Hi guys, today we're going to learn about graffiti art. Graffiti is the name for images or lettering scratched, scrawled, painted, or marked in any manner on property. Graffiti can be anything from simple scratch marks to elaborate wall paintings. So yes, graffiti is what you see on bathroom walls, but it's also those beautiful murals that you see in cities. Graffiti is often regarded by others as unsightly damage or unwanted vandalism. To some, though, it's an art form worthy of display in galleries and exhibitions. Graffitis existed since ancient times, with examples going back to ancient Greece and the Roman Empire. This Latin political graffiti was found at the city of Pompeii. In modern times, spray paint and markers have become the most commonly used materials. This is illegal graffiti. It's found on a wall and is not invited by whoever owned that property. However, it does meet our representation of what graffiti is. So, please note the characteristics that you see in the lettering style in this graffiti work. The same characteristics can be seen in the lettering here. You see stylized letters. They are usually touching or overlapping in some way, and they are always outlined. Towards the end of the 1960s, the foundation of graffiti began right in Philadelphia. It then became even more popular in New York City. Graffiti pioneers, or the inventors of graffiti, began inventing newer and more creative ways to write. Keith Haring is a graffiti artist who drew chalk pictures on black paper in the New York City subway. This is his reasoning for starting these drawings. One day, riding in the subway, I saw this empty black panel where an advertisement was supposed to go. I immediately realized that this was the perfect place to draw. I went back above ground to a card shop and bought a box of white chalk. Went down and did a drawing on it. I kept seeing more and more of these black spaces, and I drew on them whenever I saw one. Because they were so fragile, people left them alone and respected them. They didn't rub them out or try to mess them up. It gave them this other power. It was this chalk white fragile thing in the middle of all this power and tension and violence that the subway was. People were completely enthralled. So these drawings were just basic chalk done on black paper. Black paper was put up in a spot kind of like a bulletin board that usually would have some kind of an ad on it. However, if no one bought that space for the ad, this black paper would go up in its place. If you give an artist a blank piece of paper, they're going to want to draw on it. And therefore, Keith Haring thought it was the perfect place for him to draw. It's amazing that even though they were just done in chalk and no covering was on them, no glass, no plastic in front of it, no one touched these. They left them alone. It kind of gave them this own power to them. We're going to be adding value into our drawings. That's the lightness or darkness of a color. We'll be doing this by using our shading techniques once again. Shading adds those different values to the work of art. So in this picture, you can see we've got the stylized lettering. The letters are all touching or overlapping. We also have some shading and some patterns are added into these. These letters are also made to look three-dimensional, which adds a little bit more interest to them. You can see how they're outlined with a black line, and you can see the pattern that exists in each letter. It runs through towards the center or top of each letter. You have shading with two colors. The first color is orange, and it starts out dark at the top of the letter, fades to a light, and then you have a darker gray that fades to a light. This is done on each letter. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to use some white paper. Hopefully you have white drawing paper is preferred. Printer paper will work as well. You're going to write a word that represents something you want for yourself or for our world. We're going to do more research on this tomorrow, but just start thinking about something that's important to you. And we're going to be coloring this with markers and colored pencil. I'd like to use markers to do some outlining, make some things stand out, but our colored pencils will be used for shading. So markers will be optional, but you will need some kind of colored pencil. Our requirements are going to be that our letters are very stylized. We're working with that graffiti style of art. We want to fill the space on our page. Each letter must have values from light to dark, outlining it with at least one color, and include a related picture. We can see all of these things in this example here of money. The letters are definitely stylized. We've got some interesting aspects they added with little arrows at the ends of some of the letters, or even the top of this Y. It fills the whole space. You can kind of make out the edge of the paper here, where some of it's even cut off. Yours does not have to be cut off, but I don't want to see something super small in the middle of a larger paper. Each letter has to have values. So this one actually has the darker value at the bottom, and it fades to light on each letter. Darker to lighter, darker to lighter. You have to outline with at least one color. They actually outlined in multiple colors. So he had a gold marker that he was able to outline and a black marker that he was able to outline with. Include a related picture. So he added some money over here and did do a background to make this stand out more. Here are some other examples. This person chose the word achieve. You can see some of the shading is darker at the bottom and fades to lighter. This one has a unique color mixing or color blending where we can see it's a little darker at the bottom. It fades lighter, and then the colors, you can't see where one stops and the other starts. These are blended together. So you actually overlap both colors together to transition from one to the other. So I will be showing you this technique as well. They even included shading on their picture, which definitely adds a lot more interest to their work. This was a more personal one to them. They wanted to focus on their lacrosse. You can see the outlining of each letter in marker, and the shading has two colors, the green to a very, very light, and the orange to a very, very light. Color options will be up to you, but it does need to show value on each letter. And this one was more their wish for the world again. They included stylized letters. They did both shading and the color mixing here, so it starts out darker and it fades from the blue to a purple to a pink, and each letter fades from one color into another to create a lot of interest here. And then they included symbols, and a picture. So they have the picture here, but they also included all of these symbols in the background, which adds more interest as well.